Yeah. Keep moving, because the mountain will not wait for men who are afraid. The soldiers dragged their frozen feet through the alpine snow, believing Italy was somewhere beyond the next wall of stone. Yeah. Hannibal had promised them Italy, but he had not promised how many would die before they reached it. By December of 218 BC, the war had crossed into northern Italy. Yeah. Rome still believed the danger could be contained. Rome still believed Hannibal was only a bold invader far from home. Then, in the darkness before dawn, 2,200 Gauls, who had been counted as Roman allies, rose from their beds. They turned their blades on the Roman soldiers sleeping beside them. The massacre came without warning, without mercy, and without time for Rome to understand what was happening. Only weeks earlier, many Roman officers had believed this war would soon be over. Now the war was no longer distant, no longer clean, and no longer predictable. Before sunrise, the Gauls crossed the Trebia River through the dark. They entered the Carthaginian camp, carrying a message, more brutal than any written letter. They laid the severed heads of the Romans they had killed before Hannibal. It was not just a gift of blood. It was proof that their loyalty had changed sides. Hannibal understood immediately what the gesture meant. He told them to return to their tribes. He told them to tell everyone what they had done. He told them to bring him more men. Far away in Rome, this was exactly what the Senate had feared. At first, the idea had sounded impossible. Hannibal had crossed the Alps. Roman senators had said no army could cross those mountains and survive. Yet the reports kept coming. Hannibal was alive. Hannibal was in northern Italy. Hannibal was turning Rome's own allies against her, if Rome did not stop him quickly. This would no longer be a war fought overseas. It would become a war fought on Roman soil. The Senate moved with urgency. Consul Tiberius Sempronius Longus was recalled from Sicily and ordered north. His mission was to reinforce the Roman army already facing Hannibal in the Po Valley. That army was commanded by Publius Cornelius Scipio. But Scipio had already learned how dangerous Hannibal could be. At the Ticinus River, Hannibal struck first. Roman cavalry met Carthaginian cavalry in a violent clash. Hannibal defeated the Romans and wounded Scipio himself. The defeat did more than injure a Roman consul. It shook Roman confidence. It also exposed a Roman supply town called Clastidium. Inside Clastidium was a great depot of grain. Hannibal needed food for his army. He did not need to storm the town. He needed only one man inside the walls to choose gold over loyalty. Hannibal offered the commander a choice. Open the gates and leave rich. Keep them closed and starve until Carthage took the town anyway. The commander took the bribe. The gates opened in one stroke. Hannibal fed his army and denied Rome the supplies it desperately needed. By mid-December, Sempronius finally arrived with Rome's second army. He brought roughly 40,000 men into northern Italy. Two Roman armies had now joined into one enormous force. It was one of the largest armies Rome had ever placed in the field. But Rome had also created a new problem. There were now two commanders, and they did not agree. Scipio had faced Hannibal and survived. Sempronius had arrived eager to win glory before his consulship ended. Scipio warned him that many of the soldiers were not ready. Half of them had been farmers only a year before. Many had never stood in a true battle line. Many had never heard the scream of a war elephant. Scipio believed the army needed training, patience, and time. Sempronius believed Rome needed a victory. In his mind, delay was not caution. Delay was weakness. He knew what men in the Senate were saying. They blamed the earlier defeat on failed allies rather than on Hannibal's skill. But the same Gauls Rome had trusted had just murdered Roman soldiers in the night. Scipio saw something deeper in that betrayal. He saw an enemy who understood the land better than Rome did. Sempronius saw an enemy winning Italy tribe by tribe. Every week Rome waited. More tribes might ride to Hannibal. To Sempronius, waiting meant losing Italy without a fight. To Scipio, rushing meant giving Hannibal exactly what he wanted. Scipio told him that Hannibal was far from home. His supplies were thin. Winter was coming. Rome did not need to destroy him immediately. Rome only needed to outlast him. Sempronius refused to let another man inherit the glory of his war. His year as consul would end soon. He had not marched into the cold to hand victory to a stranger. The disagreement was never settled. Sempronius made camp nearby and began searching for his chance. Across the river, Hannibal was searching for the same thing. Hannibal sent raiders along the river to burn Gallic villages. He punished tribes he suspected of bargaining with Rome. Terrified villagers begged the Romans for protection. Sempronius answered them. In doing so, he stepped toward the battle he wanted. Skirmishing grew into something larger. What began as a response became a fight neither commander had fully chosen. It became the worst kind of battle. It became the kind no one controls. Then Hannibal showed what made him different. His men were ready to push forward. His officers believed they could win. Hannibal ordered them to fall back. He looked at the ground. He looked at the timing. He understood that this was not yet his battle. The Romans would call it a victory. Hannibal was willing to let them. A man who thinks he has already won becomes careless. The Romans celebrated their small success. Their confidence returned. Hannibal had refused a battle he could not shape. Quietly, he had shown the traits that would define him. He controlled his army completely. He had handed Sempronius a cheap victory. By morning, that victory would cost Rome almost everything. That night, Hannibal did several small things. None of them looked important. Each one was part of a trap the Romans would not see until it closed. South of the open battlefield lay a dry watercourse. Brush covered its edges. Steep banks made it deep enough to hide men lying flat. Hannibal called for his brother Mago. He ordered him to choose 1,000 horsemen and 1,000 infantry. They had to be the best. They had to move before the Romans broke camp. They had to hide in the ravine and wait. Mago asked what they were waiting for. Hannibal told him they were waiting for the entire Roman army to march past them and forget they existed. He warned Mago not to move too soon. He warned him that everything in him would want to strike early, but the order was clear. Wait until the Romans were fully committed to the front. Then hit them from behind. Under cover of darkness, Mago led 2,000 picked men south. They disappeared into the ravine. The Romans slept through all of it. At first light, Hannibal sent his Numidian cavalry across the river. Their mission was not to win a fight. Their mission was to provoke one. They attacked the Roman camp. They threw weapons, shouted insults, and created panic. Then they began to retreat. Their orders were exact. Enrage the Romans. Pull them across the river, make them chase. Sempronius heard that the Numidians were near the camp. He believed the moment had finally come. His officers warned him that the men had not eaten. There had been no time for breakfast. Sempronius dismissed the concern. He said they would eat on the far bank. He sent out all 4,000 Roman cavalry first. Then he sent 6,000 skirmishers. Then the rest of the army marched after them. Tens of thousands of Roman soldiers moved into the freezing dawn on empty stomachs. Meanwhile, Hannibal fed his men. He allowed them to prepare slowly. He let the Romans come to him. The Numidians performed their task perfectly. They never allowed the Romans to catch them. They never allowed the Romans to stop chasing. Ahead of the Roman army waited the Trebia River. It was swollen by winter rain. Its water was bitterly cold. Hannibal had timed the trap for this exact hour. The Romans crossed anyway. Tens of thousands of men waded into the current. Before the battle began, they were already soaked to the bone on the far bank. The Roman army formed for battle. Sempronius deployed his men in the standard Roman way. Skirmishers stood in front. Veteran legions held the center. Allied and Gallic infantry stood on the sides. Cavalry covered both wings. Around 40,000 men stood cold, wet, and hungry, even weakened. They remained some of the most dangerous heavy infantry in the world. Hannibal stretched a thinner line across the field. He placed his Gauls in the center. He expected them to bend under Roman pressure. On either side, he positioned his tougher Spanish and Libyan infantry. He placed war elephants before the wings. His stronger and more numerous cavalry waited wide on the flanks. The skirmishers met first. Roman javelin men needed to close the distance. Their weapons were useless beyond roughly 30 meters. Hannibal's Balearic slingers could kill from far greater range. The Morning S design now revealed its value. The Romans had used many of their javelins while chasing the Numidians. Hannibal's slingers had not wasted a stone. Then the order came for the infantry to advance. Roman and allied soldiers moved toward the Carthaginian line. The main lines crashed together. In the center, the Romans fought magnificently. They drove forward with discipline and fury. They cut into Hannibal's Gauls and pushed them back. But this too was part of the plan. Hannibal had placed his weakest troops in the center on purpose. Their job was to absorb the Roman push. The real killing would happen on the wings. On both flanks, cavalry struck first. Hannibal's Numidians and heavy horsemen slammed into the Roman riders. The Roman cavalry was outnumbered. It was also outmatched. Then the elephants moved forward. Their size, smell, and noise terrified Roman horses. Horses bucked, broke ranks, and threw the cavalry into confusion. The Romans had trained for elephants. Their light troops rushed forward with the last of their javelins. They hurled their weapons at the beasts. Then they drew blades and slashed at the elephants' legs. Several elephants went down for a moment. The Roman flanks seemed to hold. Reports reached Hannibal that the Romans were killing the elephants. Reports also reached him that his center was giving ground. Hannibal did not panic. The center was supposed to bend. He ordered the cavalry to clear both flanks. He wanted the Roman horse driven off the field. He wanted the Roman army exposed. As for Mago, Hannibal waited. Mago knew when to move. Hannibal's heavier cavalry overwhelmed the Roman horse on both wings. The Roman cavalry broke. The Roman flanks were suddenly bare. Sempronius was told the cavalry was gone. Both flanks had collapsed. Now every small decision from the night before came due. The Romans had crossed a freezing river. Many could barely feel their hands. Hannibal's men were dry. Hannibal's men had eaten. Then Mago's 2,000 hidden soldiers rose from the brush. They charged from the ravine at full speed. They smashed into the Roman rear. At the same moment, the Numidian cavalry wheeled back after routing the Roman horse. The trap closed around the Roman army. This was the moment the battle was decided. The Romans were struck from the front. They were struck from both flanks. They were struck from behind. Orders stopped reaching the line. Command dissolved into noise, blood, and confusion. Yet in the center, something extraordinary happened. The veteran legions kept moving. They were still in formation. They were still disciplined, even as the army died around them. They refused to be trapped. Around 10,000 men punched straight through the Carthaginian center. They marched out toward Placentia. They were not routed. They were not scattered. They escaped as soldiers. Everyone else paid the price. Ancient sources differ on the numbers, but as many as 28,000 Romans may have been killed, wounded, or captured. Hannibal's losses were far smaller. His heaviest losses fell on the Gauls in the center, exactly where he had expected the pressure to fall. In only a matter of weeks, Hannibal had defeated both Roman consuls on Roman soil. He had done it with calculation, patience, and terrifying control. Yet victory also cost him something. In the freezing weeks after the battle, nearly all of his war elephants died. Some died from wounds, others died from the cold. By spring, only one elephant remained alive. In Rome, the news arrived like an open wound. A Roman army had been destroyed. A consul had been beaten in the field. The enemy had no safe road home. He had no steady reinforcements. He had no proper supply line. Yet he had defeated Rome again. Some in Rome blamed the river. Some blamed the cold. Some blamed Sempronius' haste. Others blamed the Gauls, the terrain, and the chaos of battle. But a few understood the truth. Rome had not merely lost to bad conditions. Rome had lost to a commander unlike any enemy it had faced before. Hannibal was not just across the water. Hannibal was at the gates. Rome refused to fully understand him. That refusal would cost Rome again. Within months, at a lake called Trasimene, Hannibal would not wait for Rome to come to him. He would vanish into the fog. He would lead an entire Roman army into another trap they would never see coming. And by then, Rome would finally begin to understand what kind of enemy had entered Italy.